right, well, we're going to see how well this works, I guess, because I haven't done this in a while, so bear with me as I get up and running here once again. Topic that's been burning me up lately, and if you find my channel here from TikTok, you'll know that this is a topic that's been on my mind, that has been weighing on me. So I did say I was going to address it here, and I thought, hey, there's a good opportunity to come back and do a video, a short one, just to make sure that the live stream works and that I've got everything set up properly. So hopefully you can see me, you can hear me, and everything goes smoothly here. The goal now is to get on here on a daily basis, do a pretty decent stream, but I'm going to try and keep it short today, keep it to about 10 minutes. Like I said, this is more of a test than anything else, just to make sure that things are set up properly and everything's working. I'll be adjusting the camera, getting things straight, so it's not so crooked and whatnot in the future. But definitely a topic I wanted to discuss, and the nation's going nuts. Everybody's going crazy. We're talking about the Rona, of course. And before I get reported and this gets taken down and all the other nonsense, I'm not here to discuss epidemiology. I'm not here to discuss any of the science realistically behind it, because like most people on this app, most people that are talking about this, very few people in the world have the actual qualifications to talk about it. Most people aren't qualified to talk about those things. What I've taken a look at, and what has kind of drawn my focus, is that the headline number, and I've had an issue with this from the very beginning, in terms of this is how many people have passed away from this thing. That has been an issue for me from the very beginning. And the reason for that is I look at this and I say there are just too many. The numbers aren't accurate. Accurate's probably not even the right way to describe it. The numbers aren't representative of what's actually going on. And the reason I say that is because I use the Colin Powell tragedy as an example. You had a bunch of anti-vaxxers come out and scream and shout that, look, this guy was double vaxxed and he passed away. And right away, the people who would defend the vaccine, the people on the other side of that argument, would come out and say, well, look, he was old, he had cancer, and this is why he passed away. And those people are right, but then you have to take that to its logical conclusion. And the logical conclusion is that, yes, there are a lot of people who have passed away who would still be with us today if it hadn't been for this virus. It is a tragedy. It is dangerous. We do need to protect people who are at risk. However, the people who are at risk versus the general population, we have to, I guess the way I would say this is, we have to be able to separate the risk to the average person versus the risk to people who are in that at-risk category. And we have to set policy, and we have to behave in a way that's representative of that. Okay, first and foremost, if the vaccines work, and I have no reason to not believe that they are safe and effective, then the risk is very, very low to a vaccinated person. So there's no reason for a vaccinated person to be super angry at an unvaccinated person for refusing to get a vaccine. You're safe, you have the vaccine. The odds of something bad happening to you, and this is where things get critical. The odds of something bad happening to you are very, very small if you are vaccinated. The odds of something bad happening to you are very, very small if you are a relatively healthy person who takes decent care of themselves. So we have to be able to have that conversation and talk to each other honestly about this thing, because if we're not talking about it from a realistic perspective, then yes, we're going to be angry at each other. We're going to be terrified of each other, and we're going to be enemies and all of these different things. So this is where we have to be very cautious about how we perceive what's going on and the headlines that we're being fed. To that, let me just share with you this little headline here. I'm going to mute that up or freeze that here. So let's go up to this headline. Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, COVID vaccine lies, mar MVP season. Aaron Rodgers, enemy of the woke mob, turns a mob against a sports writer who blasts his vaccine lies. Okay. Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers quarterback with $1 million arm and the 10-cent head, has spent the season whining about a woke mob and cancer culture police that he says are out to get him because of his refusal to get vaccinated and his lying about his vaccination status for weeks. All right. A couple of things I want to unpack here. First, I don't think anybody who follows the NFL, who knows Aaron Rodgers, who knows about Aaron Rodgers, would say that this is not an intelligent person. Just because somebody disagrees with a particular stance that you have on something doesn't make them unintelligent. We have to stop assuming that everybody who disagrees with us is dumb, because that's not accurate. And then lying about his vaccination status. He did lie about his vaccination status. He said he was immunized. I think everybody is intelligent enough to recognize that was a half-truth. He should have said, I'm not going to comment on it. It's my personal business, or just flat out say he hasn't taken the vaccine. Those are all okay things to say. But at the end of the day, we have a real problem when all of a sudden we believe it's our fundamental right to know somebody's health status. I think that's wrong. I don't think that we have an inherent right to know what a person's status is. That's a dangerous little bit of thought, I think, that I'm entitled to know whether or not this person has done this thing. So, yeah, he lied, but he lied about a question I don't think he should have ever been asked, personally. So we all know the Herbie Hub Arkush deal comes out, guy's biggest jerk, blah, 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 blah. One of the things that really bothers me as we get into this is the idea that Aaron Rodgers put his teammates at risk. Rodgers only lied to the public, who has no right to know what's going on with him. His team knew that he was unvaccinated. The NFL knew that he was unvaccinated. And outside of not wearing a mask during press conferences, I have to believe that outside of that, he was probably following the protocols, at least to the extent that the Green Bay Packers enforced those protocols inside their building. So let's take a deep breath here on the at risk and the lying. The people who were entitled to know, the people who actually had a right to know his status, knew his status. And that's something to keep in mind. The second thing that really bothers me, and this is where this goes back to the headline number, 900,000 people, or all these people died. An NFL player, an elite NFL athlete, is at a higher risk from playing the game than he is from the virus. Let me say that again. An NFL athlete, one of these highly trained elite athletes, is at a higher risk from playing the game than they are from the virus. And anybody who studies this has to know that. Anybody who's dug into the statistics and looked at the people who have suffered and the lives that we've lost through this virus has to be able to at least acknowledge the fact that young elite athletes have a very small risk of something bad happening to them should they contract this virus. And if we can't have that as an honest conversation, then we've lost the ability to be rational. Life is risky, right? There's no such thing as zero risk. Everything you do puts yourself and the people around you at risk. I'm sorry that the camera keeps dropping. I don't know what's going on there. I'll have to sort that out. But everything we do puts us at risk. You're driving your car puts you and people around you at risk. Going out in public puts you and the people around you at risk. You don't have a right to not get sick, okay? You don't have a right to go out in public and just expect everybody around you to be perfectly healthy and for you to not fall prey to the flu, to the common cold, to pneumonia. I think that if you're a decent person and you're sick, especially in this era, you're going to stay home. You're going to isolate yourself. But at the end of the day, if you're out in public, you're at risk. So we got to stop pretending like there's a way to eliminate all risk, because there's not. That doesn't exist. The risk-free environment isn't a thing that exists. So we have to measure risk, and we have to say how much risk is tolerable, what's an acceptable amount of risk, and make our decisions from there, okay? So when we talk about that, we have to say how much risk is an acceptable amount of risk? What's a reasonable amount of risk? And then we can go back and take a look at how dangerous this thing is, and we can really dig into the numbers and say, geez, I'm not elderly, I'm a relatively healthy person, I'm vaccinated, whatever the case may be, and say, you know what, it's reasonable for people to be out and about and it's reasonable for me to go about my life and not demand that I have a right to know somebody's health status or that this person has to cover their face, because there's no such thing as zero risk. And we all have to learn to live with the fact that risk exists, and that's just how it is. That's the way the world works. So I wanted to come back on again. I hope there was sound on this thing. I hope that this worked, and that you were able to see it. I'm seeing sound on my end. Again, I wanted to test this out, get back on here, do a quick live stream, go about 10 minutes or so just to make sure everything's up and running, and address this particular article. I will be back tomorrow around this time, and with something a little bit more longer, a little bit more in depth. And I'm going to get to work on that this afternoon, but I wanted to go back and check, make sure that the video feed's working, that everything's up and running properly. So thanks for those of you who stopped by, like and subscribe, and have yourselves a great day. Stay safe out there.